All right, we are live. Welcome back to another incredible episode of the Motivation Everything Show. I'm your host, Cody Cottle, where every single week I am joined by a very special guest, but not just any special guest, high-level guest that over-deliver the value that they bring. Dana Silvestri is with us today. I've gotten the opportunity to know Dana a little bit the past several months and see the value that, and guys, I can tell you, this man always over-delivers. So bear with me because I'm not prepared. I'm actually going to pull this up so that I can read his bio. You know, I'm wing it today because I can't get it up. So what I know about Dana is a man that always sets out to level other people up. He's always out of his way, helping people cultivate a success mindset. Get to hear today Dana's story and really what he's doing, the journey process to become the man is. I know that he mentored and is a part of Bob, if you know Bob program, and he's learned a lot of things on how people really go deep in their mind with their mindset and develop that to succeed in all they do in life. Dan, we're just grateful to have you today. Welcome to the Motivating Show.
Cody, thank you for having me on today. I think we have a little delay in connection, so bear with me right now. Thank you for having me on, and it's a pleasure to come on here, tell my story, and then have a discussion with you as always. And we're going to go really deep for your audience and show them what I do and my story, and a lot about the success mindset and how they can apply that to their life. So thanks for having me on today.
I love it, man. There's no one better. There's no one better that I know right now to dive deep in this topic that we're going to be on yourself. Really, Dana, to start to ask you, like, Dana's story. And guys, I apologize up on mine. Connection's bad. But like we say, the show must go on, so bear with me and step out a little bit. What's important is Dana's connection. We can hear him. But Dana, dive deep in your story, man. Tell us about you and go deep. Like, how did you get where you're at today and the value that you bring to your clients?
Awesome. Yeah. So I'll bring you all the way back to as far as I can remember. So I grew up in a place called Wakefield. It's about 20 minutes north of Boston, Massachusetts, just to paint the picture for you. And I grew up, I was extremely shy, had a speech impediment. And I go back and I remember these memories of my parents introducing me to people, and I would just hide behind them. And it didn't matter who it was. I would even hide behind people that I knew, like that I met multiple times. And I just thought that was how it was. And I remember people asking me, like, why don't you ever talk? Like my friends, cousins, and that, I mean, I'll get into it, but that went up until, age 16, 17, 18 anyway about that. So it kind of went on for the rest of my life. But anyways, so I was very adventurous as a kid. I remember I would go to the beach in Maine and I would look for crabs, and I would always be looking and searching for that unknown thing. And that's the point of it. I was a venture seeker. I was someone I would seek for the unknown. And then not only that, I would go find something, whether it was a crab or crickets or something like that. And I go share it with people. I'd say, hey, look at this thing I found. And I act like I would hold it up like it's a diamond and act like it's like the coolest thing I've ever found in my life. So from a young age, I've always wanted to share and discover things. And that's probably something with my father. He's a good role model in my life. So he probably taught me that in that sense. And then kind of going to high school and stuff, I had an entrepreneurial spirit. So in middle school, I called it Young Diesel's Biz. It was a MySpace business page. It was literally called Young Diesel's Biz.
Nice.
And I would sell packs of gum. So I'd buy the packs of gums. I would have people work for me in that sense, and I'd sell them on school property, which you weren't allowed to do. So it was like frowned upon and some risk behind it, but it's what the people wanted. So I knew supply and demand back at a young age, and it was just gum. So I didn't see any harm in it, honestly, in that sense. So I had that ingrained within me. Went through high school and kind of got into like selling things on Craigslist and flipping things. I buy a TV for about like $250, flip it for $400, and just make a quick $150. Even though I didn't have a car, so I'd have to ask like someone to a truck to go deliver it and give them a percentage or give them $50 to do so. But I didn't care because I was still making that 100. So I started to come up with these little things of how to make money and how to serve people at the same way in that sense. But I still found myself, even through high school, I played a lot of sports, and I found myself age, 15, 16, all through. And I would play baseball or football or basketball, and I'd be so concerned about who's watching me, like who's watching in the stands, that I would be at the plate and strike three would pass right by me. I'd strike out and I'd be so concerned about what girls in the stands, which one of my friends were there, that my mind was just not focused on the task at hand and my performance was horrible. So that actually led to me, we have great connection now, by the way. That actually led to me kind of wondering about all that stuff and figuring like what's wrong with me? Like am I this way? Is everyone this way? And starting to ask myself these questions. So a big thing happened at age 16. I had my aunt and uncle pass away from cancer in I think it was the same 12 or 13 months. So just about a year. And I didn't understand why. They were great people, very giving people, two of the best people still that I've ever met in my life. So I was confused because I'm a spiritual person, or I was brought up Christian. So I was like, why would God take someone in their 40s that's doing so much for people? It just didn't make sense for me. Yeah. And I said, okay, well, it must have been a physical thing. So I started to work out. And my freshman year, I had hair that was like basically down to here and like a mushroom kind of cut. So it was kind of skinny, like 130. I started to work out at that right after that time. I gained 35 pounds of muscle. I'm not kidding. So I went from 130 down up to 175, like cut my hair off. And then I started to gain confidence and I started to really like who I was and how my body looked and started to be more comfortable with that stuff. So I started to work on that self-image and really build that up. But I still found myself still shy and I it's not wrong being shy. Like if you're shy and that's how you want to be, then that's completely okay. But I felt like that wasn't me, if that makes sense. I felt like it was something wrong with me, even though it's not wrong, but I felt like it was a blockage of some way. And it turns out, fast forward now, that it was, and I'll get into that. So anyways, so about age 16, 17, I started to party at age 16. So I would go out every weekend. I'm not even exaggerating here. I would go out every weekend, age 16 through like 23, or no, not 23, 22. I drank like every weekend besides like 5 weekends with my friends and stuff like that. Starting back in high school. Yeah. And I didn't know why. It excited me to not be a troublemaker or anything like that, but just to do something that was not conforming, or to do something that not everyone was doing, or to do something that was a little adventurous or different. I think that's what I really seeked out in my life, and I still like to seek out that adventure, that unknown, like I talked to you about, from going from that kid looking for crabs, now doing that stuff, even though it was negative and we want to eliminate that. I didn't know that. I just thought I was drinking. I thought it was part of who I was and part of just the lifestyle I was in. So anyways, I started that in high school. I got into I sold alcohol for a little bit. Like I would buy I would buy Rubinoff. It was like $10 or $15 for a handle. I bottle it up into 3.5 water bottles and sell them for $10 each. So am I happy that I did that? No, but I didn't think I was doing a disservice to people at that time, because people were like, oh, we wanted that. And I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. And it was just a way for me. So not something I'm super proud of, but it's interesting, just like the business concept behind that, the gum, the flipping things on Craigslist, and now what I'm doing now. That's why I give those examples. So anyways, my parents told me, great parents, basically told me, you go to school, you get your degree, and you're going to be in your job for the next 40 years. You're going to retire, do your 401k, and you're going to be living happy and all that stuff. And I didn't know anything else. That's what I said I would do. So I went to school, Massachusetts, and I got in a lot of trouble with partying. As I must have been, I want to say I got arrested like 3 times at that school. It eventually led to me, nothing bad, just like this disorderly conduct for walking down the street with a beer, having a party and getting caught with alcohol, and all that stuff. It was all alcohol related, but it was never like, it wasn't, something a felon would do.
Yeah, like right. You were having too much fun.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyways, what happened was I actually ended up, they made me leave that school, and they suspended me for, I think, a semester or 2. And they said, you can come back in like a year. And I was like, I'm not coming back in a year. So I transferred to a different school. And I was always good with my grades at school. It just didn't interest me. I always got solid grades with that stuff, but just fell into the habit of people, because the people around me, and everyone knows this, who you surround yourself with, you are. People around me were constantly partying and doing these things, and I didn't think anything twice about it. I wasn't even thinking. Like Bob Proctor even tells me, most people don't think. I certainly wasn't thinking at that time. So I'm in college. I go to the second one, and a couple big things happened over the course of my college career. With that is when I was age 21, my ex-girlfriend, who I broke up with because of reasons that it just wasn't the right time, as you can probably tell as I'm explaining, I just didn't feel comfortable with it. 7 to 8 months later, she ended up passing away in a car accident. So I'll tell a little bit about that story right now. It's something I don't tell too often. So as you know, it was a Saturday morning, and I was hungover because I went out to a party on Friday or something. And I remember I woke up to a text on my phone. I think it was like 9 a.m. I woke up to a text, and it said, "Did you hear about," her name was Catherine. "Did you hear about Catherine?" Said the text, and it came from someone I don't usually talk to, like someone that was a mutual friend. And when I read that, my heart dropped a little bit. You get those little shivers in your body, and the hair stand up. And I was like, I just had a feeling like, what the heck does this mean? And I said, "What are you talking about?" And they said, the text said, she was in a car accident last night and she didn't make it. And I started getting like all these texts from all these people, like, I'm so sorry. And before like I even caught up, my emotions didn't catch up to this. So what happened is I was already not feeling too well. So I ran downstairs. I walked up to my father and I just looked at him, and I didn't even say anything. I just started bawling my eyes out. I didn't know, nothing would come out. It just started coming out. And he's like, he still didn't understand what happened. And I'm saying like, Catherine passed away, or she died. And it took me a long time to realize that what I was reading in that text and what occurred actually was reality. Like that actually someone so close to me for the last few years, and someone that I dated and still was best friends with, it was just gone like that. And it happened to me twice before, and obviously it wasn't a friend or a girlfriend, but family members was gone like that again. So this sparked something in me that I started asking myself. I started asking big questions. So why am I here? Like, what's my purpose? I can be gone tomorrow. I'm not guaranteed tomorrow. How do I want to spend my days? Like, what kind of impact do I have? And this is at an age of, someone in their early 20s, which I don't want to say that people have to have a traumatic experience or have a bad experience in any way to have these questions or think this way. But a lot of the times it's something like someone hits rock bottom or something happens that makes people think this way, something emotional. So that's what happened with me. So anyways, I just went on with my life and continued on, graduated college in that sense. And I got my first job out of college and super excited. And I was like, yeah, it's time to go to my first job. Like, it's going to be amazing. I'm going to love it. Everything like that. So I get in there on the first day, and like, I asked them a bunch of questions before that. Like, am I going to get trained? Am I going to do this? And everything was all dandy and awesome. And then the first day, someone in the HR is like, "Oh yeah, you're getting thrown right into the fire." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, what's that mean?" And then basically I got thrown right into things with no training, right onto the phones, which I obviously wasn't, my self-esteem wasn't even, my self-confidence, not self-esteem, my self-confidence. Self-esteem is loving myself. Self-confidence wasn't up to par at that speed anyways. So I got thrown into there anyways. 6 months in, I was overworked. I was working on weekends. I was doing my job 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And then they had me booking flights for people for travel for the contractors that we do, which isn't even my job, on the weekend. So people would call me at 2 or 3 in the morning and say, "Hey, I missed my plane." And then I would have to go on like Expedia and like book a trip on Expedia, it wasn't even part of my job. It was just added in. So anyways, that's when I got to the point when I was like, I'm suffering, or I'm in pain. But I just was stuck in that sense. And combined with the questions that I just mentioned, what am I doing? Can I do more? I knew deep down in my gut, that my instinct, that this wasn't what I was supposed to do. And that I made a mistake by listening to people, and that whatever this is not me. And that's all that mattered. So I said, what can I do next? And what I did is I went to this mountain in the middle of the summer, and I was sitting on a ski lift. And actually, before this, I went to CVS, and I had read about how successful people journal and they do their goals and stuff like this. But I had goals within me, but I never wrote them out or anything, because I didn't know what I wanted. I never journaled, because why would I journal? Journaling's not for people like me. Journaling's not for that. And I read about like meditation. Meditation's for monks. Why would I do that? Like my ego was just pushing all these things away from me. But at the same time, my soul was drawing it towards me, like go after that, like go after this. But then the ego would kick it out and kick it out and kick it out. So I bought went to CVS and I bought just like a $5 journal, whatever. And I sat on I hiked up the mountain for about 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes. I sat on that ski lift in the summer, and granted, I've never sat on a ski lift in the summer ever in my life besides this time. It's kind of weird. I have a picture of it too. I just posted it somewhere. It's kind of funny. Anyways, so I wrote down, and over the course of the weekend, I wrote down every single goal with no limits, like wave a magic wand, I win the lottery, what I wanted to accomplish in my life, in my relationships, my business, my health, my fitness, just everything, spiritual goals, everything. I wrote that down and I looked at that list, and I had a breakthrough in that moment. And the breakthrough was that it didn't matter what corporate role I had. I could never achieve anything on this list in my eyes. I mean, granted that you could become a president of a company, but no, it just, to me, it was like, I cannot achieve what I want in my life to fulfill me, the course of actions that I'm doing right now. So I need to change something. Yeah. And that was a moment. And that was a huge moment. That's scary. And it's exciting, because to me, it was scary because I was like, I don't know what to do. This is all I know. And it was exciting because there is something within me. There is something that I need to do, and there's something I need to share with people, but I don't know what that is. I'm going to find out what that is, no matter what it is. So then, and I forgot to mention that during college, I had a job. It was a rentals company. So you drive around doing event rentals to like weddings and business events and personal, just people's houses and stuff like that. And I had Audible. So I work 3 hours, 3 days a week, 14 hours each day. So very long days, and about 5 or 6 hours of driving each day. I just listened to Audible. So I finished about 3 or 4 audiobooks a week. And that's when I started to feed my mind. That's when I forgot to mention this is key. That's when I started to feed my mind, 4 times 3, 12 hours a week, just listening to stuff. Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, Joe Vitale, like spiritual people, business people, entrepreneurs, Dean Graziosi, all these people. I started to listen, and I noticed something. I noticed that they think differently. They think differently than I was taught in school. They think different. I love my parents. They think differently than what my parents taught me. And then I realized there's a reason for that. And they're very successful, first off, in business and life overall, relationships. They have good morals, good values. They're ahead of me in that sense, and I want to model them. So I need to think the way that they're thinking. So why is it that they're thinking this way, but everyone else isn't? And that's when I realized there's a 95%, there's a 5%, there's the masses. So it's kind of orchestrated that way. But I made a decision at that time. I'm gonna do that. So what I did is I saw a program with Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins, a coaching pro. I mean, it wasn't a direct coaching, but it was like one of those ones you buy.
Is that Mastermind?
It's the knowledge, the KBB.
Oh, it's KBB. Yeah, before they turned it into that. Yeah. Okay.
And before it converted into Mastermind. So this is maybe 2.5, 3 years ago or something like that, which is crazy because that flew by. So I sat there, and I've never invested more than like $200 in myself at this point. And it was $1,997. And to me, that was like 100,000. Like that was like, I was like, do I do it? Like, I'm not guaranteed anything. I mean, now it's not a lot, but I was like, I'm not guaranteed. Do I do? I start calling my girlfriend, my friends. I'm asking them, which is the worst thing you can do when you want to make a decision, is ask other people, which I know now. Listen to your gut, listen to your intuition, and everything like that. And the answer was clearly do it. But thank God I sat there and I clicked that button. And I enrolled in that program, and it brought me through. It gave me that hope at that point. I would call it hope at that point, and direction and what I wanted, and getting on those calls, and having a mentor virtually, which is important, than not having one at all. And I came up with this plan to launch my first mastermind event. And it was just glorious plan that I was going to launch this amazing mastermind event, and I was going to have 50 people show up. And I realized that I was afraid of public speaking still. So I was like, so it's a fun
time to realize that.
Yeah. So it's like one of those decisions that's like, oh, I want this, but no, please don't let people show up because I don't know how to do this. So, going back to I was shy, I was this, and I was not a public speaker at this point. I never considered myself a public speaker at all. I'd never done any. I've done it in college, and I remember going up there stuttering, getting red, and all this stuff. So, anyways, I remember I sat down with my girlfriend one day, and I was like, I need to get a speaking coach. I need to get someone to pay someone to help me speak. And she pulled over her laptop to me, and she showed me the screen, and it said it was a 6-week stand-up comedy class. And she's like, yeah, I'm just gonna do this. And it's like hands-on, and you get in front of people. And I was like, I'm not doing stand-up comedy. Like I said, I just want to practice speaking and learn about it a little bit. I can't tell jokes and make people laugh and get feedback live time and everything like that. It just sounded crazy. And I realized that I was like, I'm doing what Bob Proctor, what Dee Graziosi, Tony Robbins said happens. My paradigm, as I call it, that part of my mind that's trying to protect me is it thinks I'm dying with this public speaking class. So I said right there, I said, I'm just going to click the button again. So I just clicked the button. It was like a $300 ticket for 6 weeks. And I went in there, I learned how to write jokes. I got in front of the class, and with my piece of paper to start stuttering and read. And eventually it led to me doing like a finale. And then it led to me doing 2 or 3 professional stand-up comedy events where people actually paid like $15. I didn't get paid, but people paid $15 to go in. And in their eyes, I've been doing it for years. So I was before my heart was beating. I was so upset.
Dude,
Not
that's
upset.
so cool.
Yeah. I was so like excited, but super scared. So I was in the bathroom doing like power poses and push-ups to try to, work on my physiology a little bit, just to like start to focus on myself. And I went up there, and I did pretty well from what I understand. And I enjoyed the process. And now I use it as a story to help other people, tell them that they can overcome those fears if it's public speaking, and they can do these things. And that even though your brain's reacting that you might die, that's how it reacts, or that you're going to get hurt, or it's not going to help you. That's where the growth is. So anyways, what led to that sparked something within me that then I started to put out content. I started to do live videos. So I started to do so much content and live videos over and over again. I started to break it down and look at my hand movements and look at the way I was talking and my speech and everything like that. Led to getting one-on-one clients with my business and really exploding it in that sense. And then fast forward to this year with the whole COVID and everything like that, I was able to go full time with my business, because I was doing it. This whole story, I was doing my working in 9 to 5, and then I would go home and until 11, 12, I would just work on the business, putting out content and just doing stuff to get the business going. And even though I didn't really know like what I was really doing, I was just basing it on step by step, 24 hours. Like, what can I do today? What can I do today? And I gave up the drinking on the weekends. I gave up the going out with my friends, and anything that wasn't aligned with that goal that I wrote out on that piece of paper on that weekend, I just gave it up and I sacrificed it.
Yeah.
So then, and I know it's a long story, so now it's going to get even more interesting in that sense. So this year, about a year ago, I was listening to a podcast with Lewis Howes and Bob Proctor on it, the School of Greatness. I believe that's the name of his podcast. And I listened to it, and I was like, wow, this guy Bob, and I've heard of him before. I've watched his videos. I saw him on The Secret and stuff like that. I was like, wow, this guy Bob Proctor, he's like amazing. Like, I need to be around him. Like, I need to think the way he's thinking. Like, the stuff he was talking about, mental faculties and perception, imagination, willpower, reason, all these things I never heard of, and how to do that, and how we can attract things into our life and meet the right people and be successful and help people in the process, which is super important, obviously. And so I listened to it 2 times in a row, which I never do with a podcast. I listened to it 2 times in a row, and I grabbed a notebook that was at my desk, like buried away in my desk, to write down their website. And I pulled open the notebook, opened it to a page, and it opened to a page that had a quote with Bob Proctor on it from 2 years earlier that I printed it off of Twitter and I put it in my notebook. So I opened to the exact page, and I was like, whoa, like that's weird and everything like that. Anyways, I called them. I signed up for their coaching program, and where is it? It's actually on the wall over there. I printed a picture offline of me and Bob next to each other. It's a Photoshop picture. And I set that as my background. I made my goal, like, I'm going to have a conversation with this guy, or I'm going to be surrounded with him. I'm going to talk to him in some way, which a lot of people do. But I believe, and we'll get into that, I believe a lot in kind of those vision boards, or how the subconscious works. We'll get into that. And 8 months later, I was on a Zoom call with Bob one-on-one for about an hour, which is, Bob's one of the most successful people in the self-development industry and expert on human potential success as well. I had a conversation with him, and I already enrolled about, a lot of money in the coaching program just to improve myself, constantly be feeding my mind. And I had a conversation with him. I wanted to become a consultant with him, which means that I can basically use his products, which he's been in business over 60 years, helping millions of people over 95 countries. He streams to over, I think, every country on his last event that he did. And it definitely, you have to basically do a down payment or something to be able to have the rights in the business. It's having a part of the company, essentially. And I already paid all my stuff into my business. I paid it into the coaching, and I had to come up with like $10,000, right? And he said, "Oh yeah, we'll do it in 6 weeks." And I was just acting cool and collective and everything on the call. And I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. And it was all live. And I'm talking to like this legend. And I just said to him, I said, "I'm gonna do it in 5 weeks." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it in 5 weeks." And I just said that because I don't know. I just came to me. I was like, "Dana, just say it." So anyways, I came up, long story short, I came up with 6,000 through my business and such in like, I don't know, 4 weeks or something. And I was still down to 4,000. I was getting to the deadline. In that sense, it was a deadline we created essentially. And so I went home for my birthday, and my mother gives me a couple of my gifts and everything like that. And then she brings over this last envelope, and she said, "This is from your grandfather." So granted, I needed $10,000, right? I had the 6,000 already, and I needed $4,000 more. She brings over this envelope. She gives it to me, and she says, "It's from your grandfather." And he passed away like 10 years ago. And my grandmother passed away March 2020 at the beginning of COVID from COVID or other things that were going on. And so I open it, and guess how much money it was? It was $4,000, the exact amount of money that I needed for the $10,000 to take that next step. And they didn't know that. My parents didn't know that. And all of a sudden my body just like sparked up with like this tingly feeling. It was crazy. And I knew I was like, I need to take this money and do what I was going to do with it, invest it into myself, invest it with Bob to be a part of his business in that sense. And that's what I did. So I did that, became a PGI consultant. So I still have my own business, Dana Silvestri Consulting Services, but we're partnered up with Proctor, Gallagaher Institute, and Bob Proctor, which means we can use his materials and everything like that. So that's what I'm doing. I'm growing that group coaching now, and growing multiple groups with that, and doing a bunch of events online. So that's the story.
Dude, man. And then I see we got a comment here too. I'll throw it up there. Great, inspiring story being where you came from. And yeah, man, I think that is such an incredible story, Dana, and what you've gone through, and really turning your mess into your message and being able to serve others now. I wrote down a couple things, and one that I think would be really helpful to the audience before we dive into success mindset. Dude, you overcame being really shy. And I think that a lot of people struggle with that. How are you able to overcome your shyness and show up on live podcast shows like this and tell your story in front of, a bunch of people? What was it that helped you overcome that?
Yeah. So really what I did is I started to be honest with myself, and I started to ask me, why am I shy? Like, did something happened? And then when I started to learn, like, especially Bob Proctor's material about the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the effect on the body and all that, I started to understand that something may have happened to me, or I may have been in a situation that made me uncomfortable, and it got instilled. It was an emotional reaction to that, and instilled that into my subconscious mind, which then caused me to say, hey, I am shy. I am not a social, I was a social person, but I was still shy. I'm a quiet person. And I played that story out for, I don't even know when I stopped, a couple of years ago. I played that story out for into my 20s, that I was a shy person. And that probably had to do with the drinking too, of trying to cover that up or so. And a lot of people are telling themselves stories today that aren't even true, that are based on past memories. And most of the memories we have aren't even, I would say about 70% of them aren't even how we perceive it in our mind. It didn't even happen that way. It's our perception of it. So what I did to alter that is I started to work on my self-image, and no one has a bad self-image. It's just like your iPhone. You just need to upgrade it a little bit. So I started to write down, and through Bob's work, through Joe Dispenza's work, through meditation and everything like that, I started to think of that person I wanted to become. That's truly who I was. Because we grow up ages 1 to 6, and we're programmed. We're conditioned by our parents, by society, by our friends, by the news, by the TV that we watch, which goes into our subconscious mind and then creates our self-image. So something happened, like I said, and I started to recreate that and upgrade that to, how would I walk? How would I talk? How would I speak? What would I be doing? I want to impact a lot of people. What kind of work could I do that with and still make a good amount of income with that to live the life that I wanted?
Yeah.
But first, so I started to ask myself questions. I started to journal down and write down everything. It goes really deep. I started to do affirmations on this stuff. Tony Robbins calls them incantations. When you move your body, your physiology, while you listen to affirmations, so it goes into your nervous system, which is powerful. So I started to listen to stuff while I worked out in that sense. And I constantly you can influence your subconscious mind through repetition, emotions, and images. So I started to record a life, I don't call it a life script. Some people call it that. I call it a mission statement. And it started off, it was like 4 minutes, and it was just like, hey, like, as if present tense, as that person, I have my coaching business. I'm impacting this amount of people. I have millions of followers. I just started playing that every single day, and reading it every single day. And it went from 4 minutes to 10. Now it's like 13 minutes that I play while I'm in the shower. And I've done it every day for like 4 years. Maybe I missed a couple of days and stuff like that.
You're programming your subconscious mind. And I want to point out, guys, that I've studied into neural programming as well. And we have different parts of the brain, and we have the conscious and subconscious in the simplest terms. And the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not. We can actually program it to believe those things. And I like, Dana, how you talked about when you overcame your shyness, like, people are believing the story that they keep telling themselves. And it's almost like, guys, like, you really are the author of your own life. And at some point, like, you can, I've met people that are like, I'm 27, and I've met 27-year-olds like, yeah, that's just not me. I'm just shy. I hate it. And it's like, you're right, because that's the story you keep telling yourself. But if you really wanted to change that, start changing the story. So I want to encourage the audience. What story are you telling yourself? What limiting beliefs are holding you back? And how can you change the script to the story and start programming your brain to believe something different? And it's not going to happen overnight. I'm sure Dana could tell you that. He's worked very hard to get to where he's at now. And he went and did comedy and did all these very uncomfortable things. But it started up here, right? It started you changing that story, and then you putting yourself out there and getting uncomfortable. And now you're able to show up, no speech impediment, talk very polished, and bring a ton of value.
That's amazing. And this device right here, the iPhone, this is more powerful than what took us to the moon, first off. And this, the mind, the brain, makes the iPhone look like a toy.
Yeah.
So when you tell yourself these things, you're instructing your mind that's so powerful to actually do that. I used to tell myself all the time, I'm horrible at remembering names. Guess what? I didn't remember any names. So stop doing things that are not going to help you. And the reason that it's okay, like, I didn't understand any of this. The reason that we do these things that don't benefit us is because we have a lack of understanding through knowledge and through application of that. So we're ignorant, which means we just simply don't know. Yeah. So how do you go about this? You listen to these types of podcasts. You look up at these people that I mentioned. You reach out to both of us and learn more about it. That's how you do it. You build that community out. And that's what's worked for me. I went from this party guy getting arrested and getting in trouble, kicked out of college, and to having coaching, consulting, working with Bob Proctor and his community, helping people, having clients and everything like that. And everyone can do this. I thought I was stupid. I thought I wasn't smart at all. And I played that role as that party guy. I'm a party guy and that's all I need to do. No worries, no goals. I played that role. I played that story. And then I realized that wasn't even who I was. So just know that the reason that, if you're listening to this, the reason that you have this desire within you or your gut to go after something is because you were probably meant to do that. So you have to just keep working towards that every day. And just like he just mentioned, that the subconscious mind, so we have a conscious mind, it's about 5%, and it's our ability to think, to reason, okay? And then we have a subconscious mind it's also called our paradigm, and it controls 95% of our results. And a paradigm is a set of unconscious beliefs or habits that are fixed inside that subconscious mind. Okay. And you can only influence, or you can update it, or whatever you want to call it, by doing certain things, repetition, emotions, images, and stuff like this. So if you know this information, you can start to do what I did, and it starts to make sense. Before, I didn't like reading. I would never repeat things and put stuff on my phone and listen to it. But once you understand the power of it and how it can do those things, then all of a sudden it's worth that. Because
Yeah.
like success leaves clues. You can model what people do. So find those those mentors, those people that you can model, and start to take control of your mind in that sense. Because at the end of the day, your mind, it will plant any seed you feed it, negative or positive. So it
100%.
doesn't. It's just like going out there and having a seed that you put into the earth, and you plant it like a carrot. 72 days. It takes 72 days. It's called an incubation and gestation period. A baby's 280 days. So an idea that we have, maybe you're not getting results with it, and like you just mentioned, that it takes time. Maybe it's not going to happen overnight. Maybe it's not going to happen in a week, because maybe it's not supposed to happen that way. It takes a period of time. When someone's having a baby, they go to the doctor, they check in on the baby, and they say, oh, we're 3 months in, we're 5 months in, we're 6 months in. They don't say, oh, the baby's not coming. So just think about that. Like set your goals, keep going after it. Know it takes time, and enjoy that process. Definitely.
Yeah, that's good. And I have some more questions I want to ask, but someone from the audience asked, where do you feel emotions play into success?
It's a good question. So the way I see that is, so our emotional mind is also our subconscious mind. So our conscious mind is our educated, our logical mind. When we read books, when we do coaching programs, it's stored into there. The issue is most people just store all this knowledge and information because that's what we're taught in school to do: memorize stuff, go take the test, go get an A. But then they don't get emotionally involved in that idea. They don't get emotionally involved in whatever information they're learning. And then the emotional mind controls your body. And the body is an instrument of the mind, and you take your actions with your body. Your actions cause a reaction. The reaction changes your circumstances, your conditions, and your results overall. So it's a process for that. So the emotions, you cannot let your emotions control your decisions. First off, you cannot let your emotions control your decisions, but you want to listen to your emotions at the same time. They're signals, they're messages. Okay? So these failings are coming in for a reason. You have to know the difference between, oh, am I responding or am I reacting? Like if someone says something to me and I just get upset and I react, that's a loss of control of my emotions. You can lose a business that way, you can lose relationships, you can get a lot of trouble that way. But if you're able to stop and you're able to realize that this process, and able to feel it in your body and have awareness and say, why am I feeling this way? And ask yourself questions and tie different meanings to it, and use those emotions to signal you or strengthen you, or give as messages to take the action that you want to take, then I think that could be extremely powerful. So I think your emotions can kill you, or they can create you in that sense. And that's the message for that one.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. That's really good. It's interesting. I've done in a new season of my life, I take prayer and meditation to sometimes dig deep into conscious thoughts on things. And I'd say about 6 months ago, I began to ask the question, why do we have emotions? Being at times very logical and disciplined with my life, but emotions are so necessary. And emotions give depth to things. Emotions give meaning to experiences. If we didn't experience emotions, there would be no joy. There would be no happiness. There would be no sadness. There'd be none of that. It would just be literally actions that we take on a timeline of time from the beginning to the end, and we die one day. But throughout that process, having emotions tied to memories, it gives depth and significance and meaning to things. And I think personally, emotions can play a key role in success, because you have to almost be emotional about it to a degree. You have to give meaning and power behind it in you. Why do you want to be successful? What does success even mean to you, and why? And digging deep into the emotion of that. Dana, why do you want to be successful in coaching?
Yeah, for me, few reasons. Number one is I saw how I described it to you. I saw, not that I was a bad person, I saw that I wasn't fixed the way that I was. And even though I was getting those results, that wasn't who I was. That was just my conditioning, whatever you want to call it, my behaviors. So I saw that I could acquire whether you want to call them skill sets or high paid skill sets, marketing and sales skill sets for business. If we're talking that way, communication and everything like that, for just talking to people and reading body language and listening is a huge skill that most people overlook.
That's the
I'm awesome.
crucial one, man.
I'm awesome at listening because I was so shy, I think. But anyways, so I saw my progress and I saw what I was able to do and how I'm constantly growing and how I was able to use my imagination, which is the mental faculty, to paint that picture of what I really wanted and paint that picture of who I wanted to become. And I wanted to share that information with other people. It doesn't matter where you are right now, that you're able to use the same information that I learned, the same systems that I learned, the same coaches or mentors that I learned, or the group of people that I surrounded myself with to take yourself to that next level. And when you understand your mind, you understand that we do have this thing called the paradigm that's solely to protect you. It's a part of your brain called the amygdala. And it's when cavemen, would run around and when there was predators and actual threats, it would protect them. But it's still in our brain. So when we go for that job promotion, when we go for that coaching event, we go on that sales call, everything like that, fear comes into our bodies because it's natural for that. So I think when people understand the processes, they understand that they're not fixed where they are. They understand that they're not what their beliefs or their stories are, and they understand that they can create what they are supposed to become, and what they are supposed to live on Earth, or whatever this reality is in the spiritual sense. That I think it's extremely powerful. So my definition of success I like is the one by Earl Nightingale. It's the realization of the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So you're progressing towards something, a big goal that that's worthy of you. Because most people say, "Is that goal worthy of me?" No, that's worthy of you, and you're willing to die in that process. And what I mean by that is, we work 1/3 of our life. We sleep 1/3 of our life. That's 66% roughly. So you're gonna give whatever you do for work or for your business, or if you're an employee or self-employed, whatever you want to call it, you're going to give more than 1/3 of your life for. So you got to enjoy what you do, and you got to understand that works for satisfaction and enjoyment, and that to find the right thing, and that you're able to build around that. So I think my journey through what I've gone through, and I have a lot to learn, but it inspired me to share this material with people and help them have similar experiences, and definitely do it while traveling.
Yeah, and really what I heard you say, man, is that you have gone through this experience yourself of changing your mindset, of changing your paradigm, and helped you go from young, shy, to partier, to all these different seasons of life, to experiencing tragedy, to job that you hated, to changing that paradigm. And now you want to help others do the same thing. So rooted in that is emotion. There's emotion tied to these experiences you went through, this transformation that you've created for yourself, and the meaning behind why you serve others in the capacity that you do. So I thought it was a really good question, guys. I want to dive in. We have like 17 minutes left, and I really want you tactically, how does one person truly develop a successful mindset? Walk us through what that means, what that looks like. What are some takeaways for people that could help the audience out? Maybe there's someone sitting back right now, Dana, and they're listening to this and they're like, man, I want a success mindset, but I have nowhere where to start. What would you tell that person?
Yeah, a couple of things. Number one, what I did is feed your mind. Number one, start feeding your mind. And like we keep mentioning the subconscious mind and the paradigm and everything like this. So on a conscious level, you have the ability to accept or reject any information, any idea that comes to you. So if Cody says, not that you'd say anything negative, but you said, "Oh, like Dana, you're not worthy of starting a business. Like I've never done that." If I don't know that I have the ability to accept or reject, I could accept that idea and press it on my subconscious mind, which then makes me say, "Hey, I'm not worthy of that. Why would I do that?" No action.
Yeah.
So number one is know the power of the mind. Start understanding that, and understand that the more that you know about you, the more that you know about every other person, because we're all expressions of each other. And even though we have different behaviors, we all have the same nature as humans. And also know that as you do this, and on my journey, I found out that we're the only creatures on Earth, the only animals, essentially mammals, that are able to that we're completely disoriented in our environment. And my kitten better not come up here. We're completely disoriented in our environment. And what I mean by that is, you have a squirrel, if you have a kitten, they're sitting in their environment, they're present in the moment, and the kitten is in the room, but it doesn't know that it knows that it's in the room and it's a kitten, essentially. So its level of awareness is not the level of humans. So what Bob Proctor has taught me is this, is that we have these mental faculties: the perception, the will, reason, imagination, memory, and intuition. Okay, so we have these special mental faculties that allows us to create our environment through decisions, through action. A kitten can't sit there and imagine out to the future that, it's going to have goals and it's going to have this vision and stuff like that. It's not capable of it. It can't look back at past memories. It only responds, or actually reacts. It only reacts in the moment, and it doesn't even know that it's a kitten in the room, like I mentioned. So those are examples of what I started to learn, which gave me that confidence to understand, wow, I do have the ability to create decisions and make decisions which lead to my destiny. So feed your mind, look on YouTube and find people like that. Listen to podcasts, do a coaching program, pay some money. Gosh, if you've never invested, nothing wrong with it. If you've never invested any money in yourself, just go do it. It feels so good, and do it right with the right person. You will never regret it. It's changed my life. I've gone from, and this isn't to brag, like I told you, $250 to 1,197 to over 30,000.
Yeah. And
it's all,
I'm up there too. Multiple 5 figures invested into myself, because I knew that the greatest investment ever we can make is in ourselves.
Yep. So that's number one. So back to that. So know that you have the ability to accept or reject any ideas, and that the news and stuff like this is targeting people, for money and for people's reactions. So every 22 stories that are negative, there's like one positive, or every 25, there's one positive story. So just get rid of that stuff. Sacrifice a little bit, to sacrifice, that word has the wrong meaning behind it. To sacrifice, people think, oh, I have to give something away, I'm going to be unhappy, I'm going to lose pleasure. Okay. But the real definition of sacrifice that you want to focus on is to give something up of lesser value or meaning for something of more. So for my instance, I started to give up partying on the weekend. I started to give up Netflix during the week. And I started to replace that with feeding my mind, doing these programs and everything like that. And over time, you develop that part of you, and you grow yourself 1% better every day is 37 times better at the end of the year. You start to see that. So number one is feed your mind in that sense. And I would say number two is habits. Oh my gosh, habits. You become a slave to habits no matter what. So you might as well be a slave to good habits. Yeah. So our habits are stored in our subconscious mind. So our habitual behavior is our paradigm. And most people, like I said, are operating about their life with stuff that the first 7 years of them living from their parents and stuff, or that they've been doing. Like I was going through my job in autopilot, just going there, collecting my paycheck, then going out on the weekend to bars over and over again. And Albert Einstein even said, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is insanity. So if you're playing into that right now, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. And I'm trying to remember if it's Emerson or who said, we are what we repeatedly do. Success then is not an action, but a habit. And it's so true, man. So true. But keep going. That's good.
Yeah. So I would develop your day. The way I picture it is, obviously all the goals and stuff is important, but you need to focus every single day. I do it on like 24 hours, maybe 2-day intervals. And that's what I focus on. So what can I do that's a little bit different than yesterday? What can I do that's going to progress me in my life, my business today? What's one thing different? Because you have to understand that if you're doing the same things every day, you're recreating that same experience over and over again. So I try to do something different every day. It doesn't matter if it's a routine or everything like that. You want to maybe do another sales call, or maybe go on that walk, or maybe go see your friends or family, and split it up a little bit so you get a different result. So I think that's key is habits, and knowing that habits aren't created overnight. I think I would say it takes 3 months to actually have a habit systematic in your body and everything like that. But I would start with one thing that you want to improve on and just work up from there in that sense. So the feeding your mind, the habits, and I can't express so much about knowing how the mind works, and knowing that we all have the mind, and knowing that it's a supercomputer, and that you communicate like one of the mental faculties, and this may seem a little spiritual to people, but it's really science in that sense. I wanted to go there with this, is we have an intuition as well. And
Yeah.
I was taught an intuition was something that psychics had, and it was a special gift that people had, and it's a little bit weird. But like Bob Proctor taught me, everyone has an intuition. Everyone is able to pick up certain vibration frequencies in our environment. So the truth is this, that we cannot see 99.999% of what's around us. So it's called the electromagnetic scale, and we can only see the visual part of that. So, but there's all these things going on around us, and obviously Wi-Fi, 5G. When you call someone on your phone, and I want to dial Cody, there's a certain frequency that connects to it, hits the satellite, and goes back down. And there's also science behind the laptop, myself, that everything's vibrating at a certain rate and frequency, and that everything vibrates at 186,000 miles per hour per second. So when you know this sort of stuff, and you know that your intuition picks up things that may be unseen, and that may sound ludicrous to people, but it's true. Like, how many times have you had in business or in life, have you had a gut feeling to do something, you haven't listened to it? My life changed the last 2 years when I had a logical decision, and then I had a decision that my gut, my instinct, my intuition, whatever you want to call it, was saying, go with this, like do this, even though maybe I don't have the resources, maybe I don't have the money, maybe I don't have everything that I need to do that. But I do have my understanding and my knowledge of how it works, thanks to my mentors and everything like that. So I went against the decision, and that's why people are like, oh wow, that's crazy, for you, like, oh, that's crazy, you moved. See, people don't understand that. They just go with what's in front of them. So I started to operate, and Walter Wattles calls it truth regardless of appearance. So what's my truth, regardless of the appearance, the circumstances, the economy? What's the truth of the situation? What's the truth of my business? What's the truth that's really going on? And I started to operate, key right here, as that future person. So that person that already has that huge business and consultant, and is helping millions of people, speaking on stages, doing TED Talks, maybe on Forbes, whatever, traveling the world, helping people, giving back, doing charities. How would that person think? How would that person feel? What decisions would they make? And when I started to do that, I started to operate like that in advance. Then you're just making those decisions as that person, and by law of cause and effect, eventually it has to come to fruition in that sense. So that's when I started getting big results, is when I had that goal, that big goal, a C-type goal. So that's another big point, is the goals. Don't set what you know how to do. We call that A-type goals. Don't set what you think you can do. That's a B-type goal. It's, oh, I think I can start a business. I think I can get that promotion. I think I can live in that house. That's not a good goal either, because both of those don't have much growth. You're going to go sideways. So what you want to do is you want to set a C-type goal. It's a goal that you have no idea how to do, that you've never done before, but it's something that you want to be, do, or have, and you don't need to know how. So a C-type goal is going to take you up that scale. Instead of going sideways, it's going to go directly up, and that's where the growth happens.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have desire in what they're doing because they don't set the right goals. So you need to go back and just look at, what are you working towards? If you don't have desire, you're not going to have energy. And the truth is, we generate energy. Like, we're taught, oh, how do I get energy? How do I get energy? First off, when you have desire, that's one way to get energy. And then second off, from what Bob Proctor talks about and everything like that, is the frequencies, everything like that. This energy flowing to and through you. It's just invisible. So you can learn how to harness, and that may sound a little ludicrous too. You have to learn how to harness that energy and feel good about yourself. And when you align your thoughts, feelings, ideas, and actions, another word for your attitude, when you align your attitude, you're feeling aligned with your mission. You're feeling aligned with helping people. You're in the flow of stuff. You're in creation. So many people are in that survival state of mind that, oh, should I do this? I need to do that. I need to do this marketing thing, or I need to make this call. And they're freaking out. You have to be relaxed in that process. As Bob Proctor says, he says, you don't need to slow down. You need to calm down. So calm down, make sure everything's aligned, and enjoy that. That's the big thing right here, is enjoy the process on the journey. Because so many high achievers, focus on that end goal, because I'm going to keep talking about this goal and thinking from that outcome, which is important. But if you live always focusing on that goal and the outcome, you're going to miss that journey up the mountain, and you're going to look back on your life and you're not going to have that fulfillment. So I think it's a balance of all those.
That's good. So takeaways I took, and I actually put into the first place, understand the power of the mind. I think that because you reiterated on that a few times. So first, guys, if you're watching this and you want to develop a successful mindset, first understand what that means. Understand what you possess, that God gave you everything that you need the day that you were born. And he equipped you with the most powerful supercomputer that will ever exist. Technology will never match it. And the fact that we've only unlocked like a bit of it, like we're not even using our full potential. So just much like your computer or your phone that you're watching this on right now, depending on what you decide to search or choose to do, determines the functionality and the result that you get out of it. So I want to encourage you guys to understand the power that you have inside of you with your mind. Then feed your mind, like Dana said. Feed your, it's interesting because you guys don't know what you don't know. And the worst thing you can do is have a closed mind. It's like a closed parachute, right? It gets you nowhere, and heck, it'll fucking kill you. So have that mind to learn and to feed yourself. And it's crazy because I was talking with someone not too long ago, Dana, and there's this new concept a lot of people are beginning to discuss where we're drowning in information. Like information's not the problem. So the ability to feed our mind and to change our paradigm it's very accessible, and even for free. I mean, you have YouTube and you have Google and you have podcasts like this, and so many people out there putting all this content out, telling people exactly what they need to know, but they're drowning in information and they're starving in application. So I just want to encourage you guys to not just feed your mind, but be intentional about it and applying what you learn. Sacrifice, dude, you said something interesting. Give something up of lesser value for more. And I related that to my like choose your hard philosophy, where like either going to live with the pain of discipline or the pain of regret, choose your hard. So just encourage you guys to understand the meaning behind sacrifice to the root, like where Dana took it and what that means for your life. Habits, man. Talk about developing good habits and don't give up until you've done it for 3 months. I thought that was great advice. Like, guys, consistently do something for 3 months and then what happens. I don't have to write down work out anymore. At one time in my life, I did. I don't have to write down read anymore. At one time in my life, I did. All of these habits that I had to build took a long time of being intentional about doing it. I'm sure the same for you and any other person out there that's developed it. And then you talked about learning intuition and understanding that. We have an internal magnet in us and we can tap into these frequencies. So I encourage the audience to go explore that more, set goals that scare you, and enjoy the process. So that was just like, I like to take key takeaways and then compact it out for people,
I like that. And as you were saying that, I wanted to mention one more thing is our brains are geared to think negative. Like I said, like we're geared and we love negative stuff. Like it creates hormones and cortisol, the stress hormone, and then people become addicted to negative emotions as weird as that sounds. Like I know people that I know for a fact that that's just their that's their state every single day of their life. And it's been that way for the last 40 years that they think that's normal. And it's not. Like you don't have to be addicted to that. You don't have to feel that way. That's not who you truly are. That's the fear, that's the conditioning that's taking control of you. So we do have that power to change that through information and application, especially is the point of that. And so basically we have this power that flows to and through us, and we grab an idea. We can, and I say grab idea, we just originate, our conscious mind originates ideas. We take an idea or something and we can choose. You have to get to the point that you have the level of awareness. Oh, choose that it's energy. It just is. First off, it is not bad or good, but we take that idea, we take that energy, and we build a negative or a positive idea of it. So if you're building a negative idea out of it, you can learn to catch yourself in that process. If you don't, and you're building a negative idea of something, it's because of ignorance, not knowing. So if I don't know how to start a business and I start to think about it, I get excited, but all of a sudden I start to get worry and doubt. That's because the lack of knowing on how to build that idea is going to start to put that on a negative polarity in that sense. Yeah. And when you do that and you start to think the ignorance, not knowing, then on a conscious level, that's worry and doubt. And then what happens on a conscious level, you impress that on your subconscious mind, and that turns to fear. And what happens is you take that fear and the subconscious mind is expressed through the body, and that's expressed as anxiety. So it brings you down the scale to anxiety, and now you're worrying about the future, everything that's going to happen. So the quicker that you catch yourself in this process through knowledge, through understanding and study, you can stop it and you can go back to that point. But anyways, you go to anxiety, and what do you do with anxiety? You suppress it. You don't express anxiety. You hold it in, and you get all uncomfortable. You don't want to tell people about that stuff. And then what happens is that turns to the depression next. So then you're sitting there and you're depressed about things and about your life, or at least you feel in that state. And that depression is really anger turned inwards, and depression turns essentially to, as we call it, disintegration. So there's a basic law of the universe. It's called create or disintegrate. So you can go down that negative polarity scale that I just described to you into disintegration. And that just means that you're declining and you're not going in the right direction. You're not using that power. Or on the other side, which I described, is knowledge, taking knowledge through study, through understanding on a conscious level. And then on a subconscious level, that's faith. The opposite of fear is faith. Then you take that faith and you want to express that through your body as well-being. And when I'm feeling in well-being and I'm excited, and you know this, then you want to go up to people and tell them about your business. You want to tell them about the client that you help. You want to express that. You don't want to suppress that. You want to express that. And as you express that, you accelerate it. And that could be motivation, that spark behind you, and that leads to creation. So you have a choice. I know I just described that really fast. You can create or you can disintegrate. We're here to create. God's the creator. He's supposed to create things, and we're the creators in that sense. So just know when a negative emotion comes in, and this is completely normal, and if you feel it, okay, in your subconscious mind, that's the emotional mind. If you feel that means you're consciously entertaining a negative idea. So how can you go back to that point that you started to think that way? What can you locate what hour that happened, what minute? Because at one point, a thought came in that you entertained negative, and then you started to impress that on your subconscious mind, and then anxiety, and it goes through that process, and you're paralyzed in that sense. So that's an example of like when you know this information, I can really pick it out and be like, oh my gosh, like I'm having this negative idea. What happened? What was that situation that happened? Oh, it was this. How can I go back and tie a different meaning to that? Maybe, it was about marketing, and I didn't know how to market on social media. I'm going to go buy a book to learn how to market on social media so that I gain an understanding, I gain the knowledge, and then that's going to lead to faith in that process. So we do have a choice. Maybe it doesn't seem like that a lot, but we do have a choice to create or disintegrate in that sense.
That's good. So Dana, where can people connect with you? If they want to get in touch with you, where can they plug into Dana?
Yeah, you can. My website is the Dana Silvestri. So THE DanaSilvestri.com. And then also, I same thing with Instagram. And then I also have an amazing Facebook group. It's called The Advancing Minds. It's where I post all my content. I do my live events. I'm doing one this week on fear, actually. And then I do a mastermind on Think and Grow Rich. It all gets into that community. It's about, I think it's about 800, 900 people right now. So you can find me in those locations.
Boom. There we go, guys. Make sure you go connect with him, thedanasilvestri.com. Highly, his community. He's always pouring value into his community. The Advancing Minds community. Did I get that right?
The Advancing Minds, yep.
Okay, so you just put the in front of that, guys. Sorry, I missed the. Dana, I want to end on a question that I try to ask every guest. And a long time ago, a mentor of mine asked me this, and I'd like to ask it to you as well, and then we'll close things out. And that question is, what breaks your heart in this world?
So going back to intuition, sometimes the first thing that came to my mind when you said that is the loss of potential in someone. So someone that I believe we're all here for a purpose, someone that never discovers that. And whether we come back or do it again, or we look at the end of our life and we say we meet God or we are God, whatever your beliefs are. And I heard this earlier from Dean Graciosi. He said, imagine God picking out a phone when you pass away, and he has you look at your iPhone again, and he shows you the life you could have lived. So I think I see in people what I didn't see in myself a lot, and that's why I think I do coaching and consulting in that way. So I think seeing people not excel to their full potential or not being aware that they're able to is even worse. Like not even having that awareness. So I think that's what would really hurt me in that sense. Is just so I'm just trying to do that opposite and help people become aware of that.
So good, man. Well, dude, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your night, for coming on the Motivation Everything show, for pouring your heart out, for over delivering on the value that you bring. I encourage you guys, go connect with Dana. He's always bringing the fire. And as you guys know, every single week, Tuesday, whether you're here on the West Coast at 4 p.m. or you're out on the East Coast at 7 p.m., you're one of our amazing guests that get to tune in, viewers from the other side of the world. We will be back next week with another incredible guest, guys. And I just want to encourage you guys to really discern from this and start to understand the power that you have in your mind, to really be intentional about developing the success mindset that we talked about today. I can tell you that it's changed my life, it's changed Dana's life, and it's changed a lot of other people's lives in this world. And we've gone from a place of where we weren't happy to a place of where we truly are stepping into our purpose. We truly are using what was given to us, our gifts and our talents, and we're channeling them into a vehicle. We're experiencing fulfillment by making an impact through that. And there's nothing that says that you can't do the same. So guys, go develop that success mindset. All right, we're out.